Talk to me,
Welcome to Purpose Wednesday. Let's get inspired and motivated together.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Purpose Wednesday podcast. Well, purpose isn't just something you discover, it's something you live every single day. I'm your host, Latasha Morgan, certified Christian life coach, certified professional life coach, board certified master Christian mental health coach, and a whole lot of other goodies, y'all. I've had an amazing day, and I pray that you have had an amazing day as well. I also pray that every day to come is even greater and more amazing than the one before. Here on the Purpose Wednesday podcast, we have faith-centered conversations designed to help you heal, grow, and walk boldly in your purpose. Our theme for 2026 is confirmed, not delayed. Walking in obedience, not excuses. And today's episode is called Purpose Doesn't Need Permission. So let's get into it. You ready? I am. Listen, let me ask you a question. How many times have you known what God was telling you to do, but you were still waiting for somebody else to agree? You were waiting for your family to understand, waiting for your friends to support it, waiting for your pastor to confirm it, waiting for somebody to say, yes, that makes sense. Yes, you are ready. Yes, I think you should do it. But here is the truth. When God confirms an assignment, people do not get the final vote. Now, wise counsel matters. Yes, it does. Prayer matters and preparation matters. But purpose does not require everybody's permission. And Esther had to learn that. We're going to be looking at Esther chapter 4. So Esther was a Jewish woman living in a Persian empire. She had become queen. But her people were in danger. A decree had been issued that threatened the lives of the Jews. Mordecai sent word to Esther and told her she needed to go before the king. But Esther had a problem. She would not simply walk into the king's presence whenever she wanted. And she couldn't do that because it was against the law. According to the customs of the Persian court, approaching the king without being summoned could result in death unless he extended the golden scepter. And Esther had not been called into his presence for 30 days. So when Mordecai told her to go, he was not asking her to do something easy. He was asking her to risk her life. Then Mordecai said in Esther chapter 4, verse 14, "And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" That question forced Esther to look at her position differently. She could no longer see the palace as only a place of comfort. She had to see it as a place of assignment. She had influence because somebody needed her courage. She had access because somebody needed her voice. She was not only in the palace for herself, and sometimes we forget about that. We ask God, why did you give me this opportunity? Why did you place me in this room? Why did you connect me to these people? But sometimes the better question is, who is connected to my obedience? Esther had a title, she had access, she had influence, but none of those things became purpose until she used them in obedience. And that is so important for us to understand, because sometimes we think purpose is just being chosen. Purpose is not only being chosen, though, it's responding. You can have the opportunity and still refuse to move. You can have the gift and still hide it. You can have the platform even and still stay silent. You can have the confirmation and still keep waiting for permission. Esther had to decide whether she would protect her comfort or obey her assignment. And every one of us will face that choice at some point in our lives. You will ask yourself the question, will I do what keeps me comfortable, or will I do what God has called me to do? Now, let's be really clear. Saying that purpose does not need permission does not mean we become careless. It does not mean we stop listening to wisdom. It doesn't mean that we become rebellious and call it boldness. Esther did not run into the king's presence without preparation. She said in Esther chapter 4, verse 16, "Go." Gather together all the Jews that are present in Susa, and fast ye for me. This is a message she gave for Mordecai. She prepared spiritually. She gathered support. She fasted. She considered the cause. And then she moved. That is the difference between boldness and recklessness. Purpose does not need everybody's approval. Purpose needs prayer, though. Purpose does not require applause, but it requires wisdom. Purpose doesn't need consensus, but it does require obedience. There's a difference between moving without human permission and moving without divine direction. We are not called to do whatever we want and label it purpose. We are called to hear God clearly and obey Him courageously. A lot of us are not actually waiting on God. We are waiting on people. And sometimes we keep saying, I'm still praying about it. You know you said it. But really, we are hoping somebody will make the decision feel better and feel safer. We want somebody to remove all the risk. We want somebody to guarantee we will get what we want to get out of this and that we won't be criticized. We want somebody to promise that it'll work. But really, obedience does not always come with guarantees. Sometimes God says, go before you know exactly what it's going to turn out to be. You don't even know where you're going, but you have to go because He said it. And that's what happened to me when I first started the Majestic Talks show. One of the other podcast show I do. I've never been on radio or podcasting before the Majestic Talks show, but I was excited about it. And after God had already told me to do it, I asked my sister what she thought. And she began asking me questions. She said, Tasha, I don't understand what the problem is. You have transportation. You have someone to help you. What excuse do you have? And honestly, that was it. God had already told me to do it. Like I said before, the excuses had been removed, so I did it. That was a long, dramatic process. I signed up, and that taught me something. Wise counsel can help you see what fear is hiding. But wise counsel does not create the assignment, though. God does. Sometimes purpose does not need another sign. Sometimes it needs your yes. Just your yes. And some of us, well, most of us already know what God told us to do, but we're still waiting for everybody else to agree. So with that being said, I'm going to say this in love here. Girl, please, get on up. Dude, get on up. Those people that you're trying to get an agreement from, they aren't God. They don't know the outcome of this situation, do they? No, get on up and go. That's exactly what I had to do. That's what Esther had to do. She had to move. Somebody's life was in the balance. Somebody's life is in the balance while you're waiting. They're waiting on you to move. You remember those other episodes when I said that on the way to purpose, sometimes we're in a waiting moment because God is getting other people into position. And in that moment, that person that's waiting, another person is waiting for you to get into position and you to say yes and obey God. Now, how long you going to make them wait? And while you wait on those people, remember this. People may love you and still not understand you. People may support you and still disagree with your decision. People may know your history and still not recognize your future. And people around Esther saw a queen. God saw an intercessor. The palace saw beauty. God saw bravery. And sometimes what people admire about you is not even the most important thing God placed inside you. So stop handing people authority over something God has the right to confirm. And here's another reason people keep waiting for permission. Sometimes the opportunity looks too small. The platform is too small. The audience is too small. The beginning is too small. And some people say, this cannot be it. This can't be it. This can't be purpose. This isn't big enough. Honey, bye. No, honey. A small audience does not mean a small assignment. And sometimes a small moment creates the deepest impact. Sometimes God gives us one person because that one person matters at the moment. Sometimes He gives you repetition because repetition builds character. Repetition builds stamina. Repetition builds skill. The more you practice, the better you become. We keep asking God for a bigger stage while He is asking whether He can trust you with the one He already gave you. Everybody wants thousands of people. I do. Everybody wants the viral moment. I do. Everybody wants the big opportunity. Oh, of course I do. But can God trust you to serve the people He already placed in front of you? Because the one you have matters. The few you have matters. Listen, Jesus told the story of the shepherd who left the 99 to go after the one. The one mattered enough to be pursued. So do not measure your assignment only by numbers. Numbers can measure reach. They cannot measure obedience. They cannot measure the person who heard exactly what they needed. They cannot measure the person who decided not to give up. They can't measure the life that changed because you obeyed. The one matters just like the many. God is such a good father. And a good father does not place a child in a position the child is not ready to carry. A parent teaching a child to walk doesn't place the child at one end of the room and say, figure it out. They hold the child's hand. They help the child find balance. They allow small steps. They strengthen the child gradually. God does the same thing with us. You know, sometimes we become frustrated because God doesn't give us the big thing we want first. But maybe He's doing a favor for us. Maybe He's protecting us from reaching a place our character can't sustain. Maybe He's teaching us how to handle people, how to handle pressure, how to handle disappointment, how to remain faithful when the numbers are low, how to keep showing up when nobody applauds. So when people eventually say you came out of nowhere, they will not know about all the small steps you had to take before you got there. They won't know that the quiet obedience was a part of the whole story. They won't know about the moments when God trained your balance. What looks overnight to people may have taken years of preparation with God. He's not delaying you. He is only developing you. Esther ended her response with these words, "And if I perish, I perish." That was not hopelessness. Not at all. That was total surrender. She was saying, I can't control the outcome, but I can control my obedience. Now that's mature faith. Mature faith at its best, actually. Faith does not mean you know everything that will happen. Faith means you trust God enough to move without controlling everything that happens next. Esther stopped asking for certainty before obedience. And because she moved, her people were given a path towards deliverance. And that's why your yes matters. Somebody may be connected to your courage. Somebody may be, they may need the book you have not written yet. The business you haven't started, the boundary you haven't established, the message you haven't shared, the apology you haven't made, the conversation you've been avoiding. You may be waiting for permission to do something God has already confirmed. So to help us walk this teaching on in our lives, let's use the purpose pathway. Heal, release the past, and restore your heart. Release the fear of rejection. Release the need for everybody to approve of you. Release the belief that disagreement means you are wrong. Maybe criticism taught you to stay quiet. Maybe disappointment caused you to second guess every decision you make. Bring that to God. Give it to God. Healing does not mean people will never misunderstand you. Healing means their misunderstanding will no longer control your obedience. Grow, renew your mind, and strengthen your faith. Replace the question, what will people think, with what has God said already. Pray, study His word, fast when necessary, receive wise counsel, but don't surrender your responsibility to hear God. Let your faith become stronger than your need for approval. Walk, move boldly, and live on purpose. Take the step, make the call, submit the application, write the first page. Start small. Serve the people already in front of you. You don't need to see the whole road. You need enough faith to take the next obedient step. So remember this as we close. Purpose does not need permission from people. It needs confirmation from God. Preparation is private and obedience is public. Esther did not know exactly how everything would turn out, but she prepared, she prayed, and then she moved. So stop waiting for everybody to agree. Stop waiting for the stage to become bigger. Stop treating small beginnings like they don't matter. And stop giving people voting power over something God has already confirmed. Sometimes purpose does not need another sign. Sometimes it just needs your yes. Your yes. So thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Purpose Wednesday podcast. Keep healing, keep growing, keep walking. Because purpose isn't just something you discover. It's something you live every single